Good day, my friends. My name is Tracy Repchuk, and I'm the host of Reach Millions TV, an entrepreneurial lifestyle and learning channel where I will educate and introduce you to some of the greatest powerhouses in their fields. As an entrepreneur for over 37 years, I've had the good fortune to appear in Forbes over 27 times, speak in 39 countries, appeared on NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, won awards from the Senate, the Assembly, the White House, and President Obama, written 9 #1 bestsellers. And from that journey, I reached millions with my message. So I wanted to show you and introduce you to the people that can help you to find more leads, make more sales, and reach millions with your message. You can find out more about me at tracyrepchuk.com and reachmillionsacademy.com. Today, I have an exciting topic, the traits of a great leader. This is how to make success simple. Let's first take a look at what leadership is. Leadership is the process of influencing people and providing an environment for them to achieve their organizational objectives. It really is about taking a goal or a vision and ensuring that it is accomplished. Now, a leader is a person who has a vision, a drive, and a commitment to achieve that vision and the skills to make it happen. And so what we're going to do here today is take a look at some of those specific skills to really help you to position yourself as the leader that you are. So let's take a look at the difference between managers and leaders. So a manager, that is somebody that might be the head of a department, a division. Even as a CEO, you can have put yourself in a management type of position, depending again on the traits that you possess and or exercise within your own company. So a manager is somebody who administers, they maintain, they have an element of control. There is often a short-term view. Often they ask how and when. They initiate ideas. They accept the status quo and they do things right. So managers are key and vital to an operation. However, above that manager, there really needs to be a leader. And so let's take a look at that. Now, a leader is somebody that innovates. They come up with amazing ideas. They look at forward-thinking concepts in order to stay leading edge. They develop ideas. And so they take these seeds and really kind of ascertain which is that best one to go with, and then they start to develop and nurture it. They're inspirers. So it's somebody that really takes that moment to get somebody else motivated and on board and moving forward with that idea so that it is constantly not, a person in front that is pulling the entire team forward. It is really a person that inspires and says, let's do this. And of course, those people jump on board. They often take a look at a long-term view. So they're not looking at what can we accomplish really in the next 30, 60, 90 days. That's for a manager to do, to really take those initial steps from that idea and ensure that they get done. And that takes, those types of break points in order to monitor progress. What a leader does is they're looking a year ahead, sometimes 5 years ahead. Where do we want to go? What impact do we want to make? And really, how do we want to position ourselves in a marketplace? The leader asks what and why, not how and when. So they're often pulling and nurturing moments of, why are we doing this? Why should we do that versus this? And why is it important? Why would our customer find this important? Why would an employee want to work here? It's all of these implementing steps that are key to really moving the team forward as one unit. They originate an idea and they originate elements of what is going to position or move them to that next step, to the ability to accomplish that goal and that vision, versus kind of initiate the steps that are going to be required to make that happen. They challenge the status quo constantly. If we take a look at industries such as Uber, it took somebody to say, why are we dependent on a taxi? Why does it have to be a licensed and kind of strict controlled environment? Why can't it just be a gig economy where a guy goes and picks somebody up, and things of that nature? It took that moment, just as it took that moment in the Airbnb and the VRBO environment, where somebody said, we have all these hotels, but what about the guy who has space in his home? What about the guy who has a cottage or a property that is not used in certain months? What about somebody that comes into town and is a single woman and doesn't want to do a hotel, but would prefer to really be part of something bigger, part of a family, or part of kind of that bed and breakfast mentality. And so that's, of course, these are interrupting ideas in economies and in fields and markets that have had a status quo for a very long time. And it's important for true development and true advancement in a kind of in life, in order to get these great new ideas that allow us to move forward as a culture. If we take a look even at that DoorDash and the delivery of groceries, this was never more important, of course, when the pandemic hit. All of a sudden, this little subculture exploded and everybody wanted their groceries delivered. So it's interesting. And that is I think, a very key element of a leader. And they do right things versus do things right. So the difference there is, it's great. The manager's getting things done. He's doing things right. But prior to that, it takes a leader to say, we should not be doing this. We should be doing that. And that's that moment where innovation occurs. That's where pivots occur. And often what I really like about leadership is the pivots occur not based on reactionary, like it may have when the pandemic hit. They're so forward thinking that they've allowed this momentum to say, wow, it's not such a prediction, but we need to be at this point. And in order to be at that point, we have to decide now and change within our organization and our culture. So what you want to do here is, tick off, what traits do you have when it comes to, do you administer or do you innovate? Do you ask how and when, or do you ask what and why? Just kind of go through that and tick those off so that you know where you need to focus to really develop more leadership skills. So if we take a look at an entrepreneurial leader, which many of us are, that entails a charismatic personality. It means that you want to do business with that person. They have a much stronger interest in dealing with customers versus employees. That's why managers are so key. And it's key in that they understand the culture and the goal of a leader so that they can really administer the employee kind of things that need to occur. They have a strong dislike for bureaucratic rules and regulations. Most entrepreneurs, that drives them crazy. It's part of why that you want to be your own boss, right? But from boss to leader, there is another leap that occurs. And they have an anxiety to consolidate business gains as quickly as possible. You're always kind of looking at that element of we need that return on investment. And so it's important for you to see these are the elements of an entrepreneurial leader, but it's actually that step up from there that really helps you to become a great leader. So what could you do better to become that better leader? So here's are some points that we're going to be taking up. Leaders don't force people to follow. They invite them on a journey. And so what you want to start to do here is really ask yourself, think of a time when, somebody, you forced somebody kind of to take that next step versus follow you, right? And then what was the result when you invited them to do that? And then think of a time that you invited someone to follow you specifically, and what was the result of that? Now, a boss criticizes, a leader gives advice. And so I think you can all kind of recall a moment where you heard something, right? Oh, that's an awful job, or why did you do it that way? Whereas a leader, and so you want to start looking at these points within yourself, whereas a leader says things like, was there another way you could have approached that? Or one of the things that I often do in that situation is this. Is that something that perhaps next time you could consider? That type of things. You want them to really start to develop their own leadership skills when you're working with somebody in particular, because that way you're not pulling them. They're starting to become their own thinking machine. So again, think of a time when you criticized and, or were criticized, and how did you feel? And then think of a time where you gave or got advice, and how did you feel about that? They're very different moments. And so you want to start to recognize situations within yourself of the receiving and the giving, so that you can optimize and really hone more closely how you deal with particularly employees, clients, things of that nature. Now, a boss knows everything. A leader admits mistakes. This is a very hard one, and so it's important to take a look at, have you encouraged someone, from that perspective? And what did you think in that moment, right? Did you get that it's okay to make a mistake, or it's okay? Or did you just, hey, no, thank you? It's really important to listen to other people, because it's incredible what they, of course, are going to be able to provide. And you always want to surround yourself with people that know way more than you. That's a key strategy for leadership. And when you admitted to a mistake, what happened, right? It's an incredible feeling. I mean, as somebody who's admitted to a lot of mistakes, it puts you in this vulnerable position, and yet it's received really well. Mostly because employees or clients or those that join a mentorship program, they want to know that it wasn't this great and yellow brick road for you, and that you actually did encounter things that you learned from. And that's what you're teaching as well. You know, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And that's a quote from John C. Maxwell. Now, leaders become great because of their ability to empower others. And so you want to take a look of a time when you empowered others, and how did they react? You know, what was the feeling, the emotion that they conveyed as a result of you, giving them more responsibility, of encouraging them to think, and encouraging them to really exercise their own ability, versus constantly checking in with you to, was this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? Right? You have to do that a little bit in the beginning, just to ensure that they're getting in standard operating procedures or protocols. But you have to let go as rapidly as possible, so that they can make micro mistakes, things that aren't absolutely gigantic and affect the organization, but they make these micro mistakes that are easily corrected, and then they can carry forward as a successful action in the future. Now, great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role. It's about the goal. This is a big one to think with, right? Because you have that vision, that mission, that purpose, and that's what you're going towards, right? It's a natural motion, though, for you, in order to accomplish that, to step up as the leader, to take responsibility for the success of that, right? That's the difference that you're wanting to make. And that's why it is important to understand, what difference are you setting out to make? And then it's important for you to convey that to your entire team and to anybody else that is involved with your organization, whether that be a client, a student, an employee, in order for them to also be able to, again, move into that leadership role, but ensure that you're all rowing in that same direction towards that same goal. Now, great leaders don't tell you what to do. They show you how it's done. And that's why, again, so many times within my mentorship programs, I ensure that I have done something in order to be able to effectively show you the path, show you the mistakes I made, or at least talk about and acknowledge them, so that you're aware of obstacles and barriers. It's the reason why people come to a mentor position and really want to join and perhaps be coached by you. That way, when you show how it's done, it's really that proven path that they can walk, versus kind of that concept of, teachers teach because they can't do. And so you want to take a look at, are you just teaching, or are you showing? And then think of, when someone showed you or just told you how to do something, and what started to happen in that situation, right? You really feel talked to. And that isn't a great reciprocative moment, versus think of a time you showed someone how it's done. Not only does this make it simpler to duplicate, but it really helps them to understand and know that you've done it. In many cases, you want someone that has accomplished that success already, and it clearly lays out the path for you to follow. Now, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. John F. Kennedy said this. And so again, how much learning are you taking on? Are you constantly evolving yourself, applying skills, learning new skills, keeping your vision in that forward moment? Or are you stuck in the weeds of your company? Are you so focused on tasks that you can't be the leader, that you can't be the CEO that you want? Those are those moments that you really want to take a look at, really from that perspective of it's probably time to get a mentor or a business coach to help you stay above the fray so that you don't constantly get stuck in these tasks. And that the things that you are learning aren't necessarily task oriented. They are the leadership elements to take you to that next level. So the thing to remember is people may not feel your words, but they feel your attitude. When you are in that leadership position, not only, of course, is it to be that role model, but what is your attitude around everything that you're doing? Is it positive? Is it encouraging? Is it that, we can do this? Or are you constantly sitting in that fear of, oh my goodness, I don't know if this can be done. This is super hard. This is taking a long time. Things like that, because not only do they, they actually hear your words, which of course has a massive impact, but the attitude that they're getting from you will be deeply felt. It's felt before simply because of the wavelength that an attitude sits on. And it's like thinking about, have you ever walked into a room, right? And all of a sudden it feels funny. It feels off. You don't like what's in there, right? Well, that's because there is somebody in there emanating such a powerful negative attitude, you're feeling it. So what you want to start to do is think of a time, that you had or received that negative attitude, and what was the outcome? Did you convey that? And you can even have that negative attitude, but be saying something else. They'll feel the attitude, right? They'll hear your words, but it's such a disconnect. It will actually cause a confusion to what it is that you're saying. And so the thing to look at as well is when you're communicating, whether it's to a client, a prospect, an employee, a manager, if there is a confusion and they don't quite know what you were asking them to do, there could have been a disconnect in your attitude and the words that you were saying. And then you want to think of a time that you had a great attitude and your words also matched, right? You were like, come on, guys, we can do this. I'm super excited. I can't wait to accomplish this goal that I know we as a team can achieve, and then what was the result? When you think about it, right? Encouragement, attitude, all of those things that help to position you as a great leader are infectious. You ever hear that saying, it only takes one bad seed to spoil the bunch. Well, that's exactly it. And here's the real kicker to this is you do not want to be that bad seed. Right? You want to ensure that you are the one constantly in motivation, even when you're fatigued. As a CEO, it happens all the time. We get tired. It's hard to keep up the attitude. It's hard to keep up the constant need to empower and flow power. When that moment occurs, that's when you have to go and fill your own cup and serve from your overflow. Otherwise, if you're in a state of exhaustion and overwhelm and frustration, you cannot be the leader that you need to be. And so that's the moment where you step back and go and fill your own cup. It's important to recognize that within yourself. Now, leadership is not a position or a title. It is an action and example. So yes, we might come and say, hey, I'm the leader of the team. I'm the captain. I'm the leader of my company. I'm the leader of my squad, the leader of my division, things of that nature. But here's what you have to constantly be thinking with, and that is your actions speak louder than words, right? So if you're not high performing, if you're not working hard, if you're not setting an example as to what others should follow, if you're not also being that role model, it is a big differentiator in the results that will be seen. And so what you want to take a look at here are, what are some of the activities and that can help you to lead by, action and lead by example. And this is just a great way for you to really encapsulate and convey what it is that you want. Now, that doesn't mean that you always have to be the first one there and the last one to leave. That can be exhausting. But you have to demonstrate by, your performance that you are, of course, that person to be followed. So if we take a look here at the summary of a good leader, it is leaders don't force people to follow. They invite you on a journey. A boss criticizes, a leader gives advice. A boss knows everything, a leader admits mistakes. And more importantly, a leader receives advice, right? If you have done the right thing and positioned it so that you're surrounded with a good team, you want to be listening to what they have to say, because their perspective does matter and will add value if you've selected the right team. Leaders become great because of their ability to empower others. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role. It's about the goal. Great leaders don't tell you what to do. They show you how it's done. And people may not feel your words, but they feel your attitude, something to keep in mind. And leadership is not a position or a title. It is an action and example. So you want to pay attention and be the best leader that you can be to these elements. So again, taking a look at the traits and the skills. The traits are you're adaptable to situations, alert to the social environment, you're ambitious and achievement oriented, you're assertive, cooperative, decisive, and dependable. You're dominant, you have that power motivation, and you're high energy. You're persistent, you're self-confident, you're high toleration of stress, and you're willing to assume responsibility. Those are key traits. And then the skills that you possess, you're clever and intelligent, you're conceptually skilled, you're able to create, you're very creative, you're diplomatic and tactful, you're fluent in speaking, you're a high communicator. You're knowledgeable about the work. This is why I like to know about things, again, before I teach them or do them with others. You're organized. You have a great administrative ability for tasks, time management, things of that nature. You're persuasive. People want to follow you. And you're socially skilled. You're really just good with people, and you have that ability for them to listen to you and, of course, want to follow you. So these are things you want to look at yourself. And if you see any where you're weak, that's okay. It's important for you to be able to recognize that. And of course, that's the thing you work on. I will tell you the number one skill I work on like crazy, and still possibly to this day, is diplomatic and tactful. Okay, that's one of those skills that I constantly have to hone, because I'm a little bit like a bulldozer, right? Sometimes do it this way or get her done or whatever, right? So now I have to really, we saw one of those points was allow others to have the ability versus a boss telling you what to do, but more importantly, you're honing their skills. And the goal is to move up to the system. You want to move from the sea of sameness to specialist to expert to authority to that influencer and thought leader position. Is a born leader, has a drive to achieve, a desire to lead. They're self-confident, honest, and integrous, very good at decision making. They have high analytical ability, maturity, and charisma, and they're great at the development and the accomplishment of goals. And that is what you want. So if you're ready to take anything to the next level, I can provide coaching services for you. I can help you with some guidance. Just book a call with me. And if you want a free gift, head to fastactionresults.com. It's been my pleasure to serve you and to be your leader in this episode.